We made it, everyone. It's the final countdown. Dun, 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 dun. Anyway, 10 to 1 of my top 10. So, top 10 games of all time, right here, as of December 2020. Yeah, without further ado, jumping into it. Number 10 is Ticket to Ride. Ticket to Ride is, in my opinion, the best gateway game, the best game for introducing new people to the hobby. Um, it's You're building trains across America. This is a very popular game. There's so many expansions for it. I love some of the expansions, particularly Pennsylvania and the UK. Great, great maps. Europe is fine, but the US. So here, let me show you the back box. So when you're teaching new people a board game, you have this map of the US, which is something that theoretically they're familiar with, if they're in the US. Not that everybody is familiar with maps. And you have all these colorful lines, and you're collecting these cards and playing your trains down. So it's visually attractive. The theme is something people like. The mechanics are fairly simple, and this is important, you have these ticket cards that show you like, oh, you want to go from Toronto to Oklahoma City, so you want to connect those via your trains. That gives new players a direction. It gives them a goal, so that they're not just like, what do I do? I'm just trying to get points. No, you're trying to go from Toronto to Oklahoma City, and then you can branch out from there and go other places too. Because of that, it works so well at getting people interested and excited about gaming. But I also just love the game. Like, I will happily play Ticket to Ride, um, just with my friends, like with people who are really into games. Um, Great game. I actually prefer the base game the most at 3 because I think it's nice and like it's stressful because it's so tight you can't use the other side of the track. Um, I also highly recommend the 1910 expansion, which is the one that comes with the full size cards, so you're not using those tiny little cards in your hands. Anyway, number 10, Ticket to Ride. Number 9 is the only game on this 10 that I do not own, and it's a deck building game, second highest deck building game on the list. The Taverns of Tiefenthal. This is a game by Wolfgang Varch. Is that how you say his name? Anyway, um, and same guy who designed Quacks of Quedlinburg. Um, like this one better, even though it's much less popular in the gaming community. It's also a bit of a push your luck game, and a deck building game, and dice drafting and dice placement. Lots of interesting mechanics combined together. The theme is that you have a bar, and basically you're trying to serve patrons and get wealthier patrons in. And there's all these different tracks you can go on and different ways you can improve your deck. Most of the cards in the deck or all the cards in the deck are either customers or your staff. And so the staff cards are really good, but customers fill up tables. So you can also add table cards to the deck, so that's nice too. Great game. Also comes with 4 additional like little modules in it that are kind of mini expansions. My favorite way to play the game is with, so it's base game is like module 1, and then there's all the way up to module 5. Module 4 is great because it adds in the asymmetric decks. You all start with a different deck. Love it. Big fan. I don't own this game. My friend Kenny does. He picked it up, and I'm just blown away. Like, always want to play it. Great game. Love it. I will pick it up at some point because it's so good. That's number 9, The Taverns of Tiefenthal. Number 8 is a worker placement game and hand management called Tribune. This is an ancient Rome themed game in which you have this board that is like a map of like the city of Rome. It's not really a map, but it's like a picture of the city of Rome. You have to put your guys in different places in order to acquire different cards. The cards represent people in different factions. So you have can't remember, like the plebeians. You have the legates, the patricians, the senators. And you're trying to control these different factions by playing sets that are the highest that anyone has played so far and putting your guys on board. I really love this game. It's not intuitive. It takes a while to understand kind of the strategy behind it. So because of that, it's hard to teach and it's hard to get new people interested in it. But if people know the game, it's amazing, fantastic. Really love this game. Unfortunately, my wife is not a huge fan, so I don't get it played that much. But she likes a bunch of other games, so I'm not one to complain. Um, she's also great in other ways. Uh, so that's number 8, Tribune. And number 7 is the highest deck building game on the list. And it's heavy because I have several expansions in here. And it's the first deck building game that ever came out, and that's Dominion. Dominion is still the best deck building game. I realize that like the theme is pasted on, people have complained about that, and that it's in some ways kind of like rudimentary. Like this is, you know, your cards allow you to draw more cards or buy more cards or play more cards. And there's not much else going on. Like there's no board to move around on or anything like that with like a lot of these other deck building games I've mentioned on this list. It's still just the best. I like to semi-randomize the kingdom cards when I'm playing, such to make sure that I don't have too many, like no more than 3 that cost the same amount, at least 1 or 2 that cost 2, just in order to have more options out there so that big money does not become the runaway strategy. I also am not a huge fan of the Prosperity expansion, so I got rid of that one. This game was taught to me, and I cannot remember his name for the life of me, but at a retreat with the community of St. John. And sorry, dude, if you're watching, I can't remember your name. You're a great guy, and I appreciate that you taught me Dominion. So I learned this game in 2010. Yeah, 2010, which is shortly after it came out. And I was like, oh yeah, I've heard good things about it. Played it, I was amazed. The mechanism of deck building is fantastic. It's not going anywhere. They've been coming out with all sorts of deck building games over the course of the years. I'm designing a deck building game too, actually, which will probably never get finished. Yeah, Dominion, amazing. Little complicated, sometimes hard to teach new people, but great game. I have several expansions. In fact, I've won this game on Boardgamegeek. I've won several games on Boardgamegeek. I won this and the Intrigue, Seaside, and Prosperity expansions. So I won 4 boxes that came, all shrink wrapped, and I wound up selling Prosperity to get something else. And then later, just actually recently, like about a year ago, I think, I added the Adventures expansion, which is quite fun. Really enjoyed that one. So that is number 7, Dominion. Oh, and it's heavy. Number 6. Oh, gosh, these games have such a stack today. They're very tall. Number 6 is Summoner Wars, which has an unfortunately large size box, which is unnecessarily large. This is the master set. There's all sorts of different sets of this. This is a 2-player only game. You could technically play with 4, but it's better with 2 in my opinion. In which you have a grid. So the map is like just this grid full of these little spaces where you put your cards, and then your cards are just battling against the other guy's cards. And it's asymmetric factions. The factions all play very differently. So like here you have the Sand Goblins, Shadow Elves, the Mountain Vargath, all sorts of great nerdy factions, and they're all very different. I own most of the factions. I think I'm missing just the one set that has the Phoenix Elves versus the Tundra Orcs, of course. And then also the Filth, which are kind of disturbing, and I don't know if I want to get that one. Anyway, great game. Can be consolidated down into a small package. Amy and I actually took this to Europe when we went to Italy in our first year of marriage. And yeah, played it in Italy because you can bring along just a few decks and some of the paper maps, and that's great. It's very tactical. This is essentially boiling the idea of a miniatures game down into a board game where the miniatures are on cards, so it's reasonably priced and not crazy expensive like miniature games. That's number 6, Summoner Wars. Asymmetric factions to the max. Love it. Number 5 is the smallest game in my top 10 by box, and that's Innovation. Also the game I probably played the most in the past couple of years. Played this game a lot with my friend Herb. 2-player, just the 2 of us duking it out. This is a civilization building game, sort of. It's like if you took the board game Civilization, or the computer game Civilization, and you took it down to just the tech tree. So here you have all these different techs that you can discover. So here's domestication with a cute little doggy, city states, mysticism, and you have 5 different colored cards. Clothing, oh, that's a good one. And you're trying to be the first one to have all these various different achievements. And it's hard to explain how absurd this game is. And the more you play it, just the more depth you find in this game. It's not intuitive at all, kind of hard to learn. When you play 3 or 4 people, it's incredibly chaotic. 2 players is much more tactical, but still like insane. It's amazing how much depth they've managed to pack into this little box. I don't have any expansions yet. There are expansions. I'll probably get one someday, but like there's so much gameplay in here. I think I played this game 30 times last year because I logged my plays on Boardgamegeek so I could check, but I won't subject you to that right now. Innovation, great 2-player game for people who are really into games and really nerdy, like Herb, who's really nerdy and a nerd. Number 4, speaking about 2-player games I played with Herb, this is my favorite game that is just for 2 players, and this is Keyforge. Keyforge is, so I said earlier when I talked about Magic that it was kind of not the only collectible card game on the list. This is kind of a collectible card game. In most card games, however, you're collecting the cards and then you're building decks with them. In this game, you're collecting the decks. So each deck in this game, where's a good one? Oh, Sans the Bloodthirsty. Each deck in this game is procedurally generated by a computer, by an algorithm, meaning that each deck has a unique name. This one is Sans the Bloodthirsty, one of my favorites. Actually, this might be my favorite deck. Unique little picture here. But more importantly, a completely unique set of cards, meaning that this deck, no one else in the world owns this deck, just me. It's kind of fascinating that this works. The way the game actually plays is kind of similar to a collectible card game, which is why I kind of hold it in that way. So you have these creatures out, or in this case, yeah, they are called creatures. And like these guys are the Star Alliance, which is basically Star Trek. You have 3 factions in your deck, and each turn you choose just one faction to activate, though some cards might, like this guy, love Comm Officer Kirby. Some cards might let you play cards from other factions or use cards from other factions. It's a very tactical, great collectible card game. I love the fact that you do not have to build a deck. You just open a deck and go. That's it. You can search online for ridiculous deck names. So here's, for example, like this isn't ridiculous, but it's kind of fun. The leader who throws away the traitor. That's weird. I think my funniest one, I will show you here. Serena, Bone Zone King. Keyforge is great, and you can get into it for pretty cheap, because really you just need 2 decks and some tokens to keep track of damage and things. You can buy one of these starter sets. I think they're like $15 now on Amazon sometimes, or you can find it from various different places. I've played this game a couple of times. I played in one like a little mini tournament at Games Unlimited, my favorite board game store, and won, which means I have a deck that is like says like something of Games Unlimited in it, which is a deck that I won from them because they had decks printed for them. Amazing, like truly a phenomenon. I hope it continues on. Some people are skeptical that it will. We'll see how it rebounds from 2020, but there is like a tournament scene for this game. And I'm not necessarily into that. I just love the game. It's a lot of fun, and playing new decks and figuring out how they work is amazing. Okay, down to the top three, but I still have 5 boxes to go. I'll show you why in a second, but at the moment, heavy games for the next three. It's my workout for the day. Number 3 is Scythe, or Scythe, however you say that. Scythe is a bit of a gaming phenomenon. One of the most popular games to come out in the past few years. I can't remember how long ago it came out. And this is a game that a lot of people who are not super into gaming have heard of and have played Scythe, though it's fairly complicated. So that's kind of amazing. In this game, so the theme, first of all, is like it's the 1920 plus universe, which is all the illustrations are done by this one guy, Jacob, however you say his name. And basically, it's alternate history World War One and the aftermath of World War One that was fought with mechs. So all the factions have these mechs, which is a fun theme. I really like it. You play with there's 7 different factions around the board. I do have the 3 major expansions. I have the airships, which Matthew Gargani got for me. Kudos to Matthew. But I have the Invaders from Afar, which has the 2 additional factions, and then the Rise of Fenris, which is a campaign expansion that I have played twice now. Actually, I can't remember if I finished. I don't think I finished the one campaign. I'm playing 3 players with Mark and Jonathan, but we played a campaign. Me, Amy, Jonathan, Bob, Herb, Matthew, and Jonathan destroyed us all because he's very good at this game. And he was also playing Crimea, which is not easy mode, but like a good one for the for the expansion or for the Rise of Fenris expansion. It looks like it's a war game because you have these mechs, you're moving the mechs around the map. It's not. It really is like an action selection, like economic game almost, and you're utilizing your actions and taking advantage of them. Has these beautiful miniatures, which I am going to be painting with Amy. She's going to be painting Tagawa here at some point, and I will be painting Nordic, and then we'll go from there and see which ones she wants to paint. Excited to paint the minis, but the game, even so, without painted minis, is beautiful. The map is great. The pieces are great. This is designed by Jamie Stegmaier, which shout out to Jamie Stegmaier, who is like really good for the hobby in that he talks to the community constantly. He has Stonemaier Games, same company that produced Wingspan, though he didn't design that one. I really want to play some of his other games. I've played a couple, but not enough. That's Scythe, number 3. All right, we're almost there. Number 2. Now, number 2 is spread across 3 different boxes, and I'll show you that. Clearly, I do need to work on my storage solution here to consolidate. I used to be a person who would never throw away expansion board boxes. I got over that once I realized that they were cluttering up just a closet in the basement. No need for that. Number 2 is Game of Thrones. This is first edition. I've also played second edition. It's quite good. First edition, though, has wooden pieces. And in this game, you are battling across Westeros. This is based on the board games. This came on the books. It came out well before the TV show. Not based on the TV show, which I like because I love the books, and I haven't really seen the TV show for various reasons. Nice big map that you're fighting over. I don't want to damage this map when I take it out. But there we go. Yeah. So there's Westeros. I do have an expansion that adds Dorne in down here. It has an overlay on the map where you put another map on top of this map to modify it, which is crazy. The base game plays with 5. This expansion is a Clash of Kings, which is the box I probably need to get rid of because it just adds a few things, but it adds a new board. This one adds the 6-player. It adds Dorne, which I don't know that I've played Dorne yet, which is a shame. Hard to get this game to the table. It requires 5 players for the base game, or 6, and it takes probably 5 hours, which is great. I love that. Other people don't love that as much as I do. I would love to be able to play this game more often, but I will never get rid of it because it is so good. The order system that they have, so each of your guys, wherever you have guys, you put down a face down order, and then everybody flips up their orders, and then you see what everybody else's guys are going to do, and then you take turns doing that. So you might be like, oh, that guy's going to attack me here, so I'm going to put a defense order here to boost my defense. And then it turns out he's not attacking you there. He's raiding or something, and then he steals some power from you. So great kind of mind games you can play a little bit. Yeah, and then there's like blind bidding for various different tracks. Fairly complicated. Great game, though. Love it. And even more, I love the Storm of Swords expansion, which is one of the reasons why I'm glad I have the first edition and not the second edition, because this is a 4-player version of the game. It takes probably almost as long, maybe a little bit shorter because you're only playing with 4. And this is just the battles in the Riverlands. So it's like, think Clash of Kings book, basically. So yeah, you just have Baratheon and Lannister and Stark and Greyjoy. But they changed the game in some interesting ways. You have ally decks. It's more complicated, but I like this version even better than the base game. Yeah, that's number 2, A Game of Thrones. I hope to play it again someday. Maybe when I can have 5 people over to my house for 5 hours, and it'll be safe. Yeah. We're down to number 1. A lot of people I play games with already know what this is. A year and a half ago, it was tabletop day, which is like beginning of July or something. And I was at my favorite game store, Games Unlimited, bought several games in order to get these, and not just in order to get these, but got these raffle tickets. So they have a big raffle. And Kylie, the owner of Games Unlimited, who is great, love Kylie, he was just like going around the store and grabbing things to add to the raffle. And I think I saw him grab this, and he's like, oh yeah, add this in there as well. And I saw it on the table, and I was like, if I get an early enough win on the raffle here, I'm going to grab this board game because I love this designer. And this game costs $100, and I don't want to have to buy it if I really like the game. So I didn't know if I would like it or not. Got my ticket called early. It was still there. Grabbed it, took it home, played it. Amazing. A Feast for Odin is my number 1 board game of all time, and has been for a little over a year now, since I first started playing it. I had Agricola earlier on the list, also by Uwe Rosenberg, as well as Patchwork and Bonanza, my favorite board game designer. I've played another one of his as well that I have upstairs that I need to get more into, Fields of Arle. But A Feast for Odin takes the idea behind Agricola, which is worker placement, and puts it to the max. So in Agricola, there's very limited places that you can put your workers, and you are struggling to feed your family each turn. In A Feast for Odin, you do have to feed your Vikings every turn. It's not too hard, though. There's lots of ways you can do it. And as far as places to place your guys, there's over 60 of them. So all of these places you can place guys. This row, it takes one, is where you put like one Viking down, you get to take this action, so that's great. This row takes 2, this row takes 3, this row takes 4. There are so many different strategies in this game that are good. I still haven't gotten the Norwegians expansion, which I plan to at some point here soon, because I hear it makes the game even better. Animals is a very tough strategy to pull off, but I hear it's better in Norwegians. You can go raiding, you can go, you can do farming things, you can get these additional little, so everybody has a main board, and on the main board you're placing these Tetris pieces to fill up the board and get various bonuses and cover up all these negative points. You can also go and discover various different islands, which is very fun. So where's a good example? Where's my favorite? Here we go. Iceland. Iceland's fantastic. Look at all that income you can get so easily. Great. This game is very complicated. It is not for the faint of heart. Once you know what you're doing, it takes probably 35 minutes per player, which is not bad. This is my favorite game to play at 1, 2, 3, and 4 player counts. I guess for 5, I would have to say A Game of Thrones. And 6, I would have to say Game of Thrones. And 7 is Seven Wonders. I don't know what 8 is. I'll have to go back and see. Maybe Dixie? Anyway, um, yeah. A Feast for Odin is it's gonna be my favorite game for a long time, I do think, especially once I get the Norwegian's expansion. It's just it's amazing. The one-player version works well. I've played it just a couple of times because it does take a while to play still. But yeah, this is Agricola, but more fun and less stressful. I know I said I like the stress element of Agricola. In this game, there's other kinds of stress though, and not just like how do I feed my family, which is kind of a, a theming like not misstep in Agricola, but like a weird theme to have, because feeding your family is something that a lot of people struggle with. In this game, it's like of all these various actions, what do I do to optimize my score, and how do I get the best little Tetris pieces in order to put them on my board? So here's an example of the Tetris pieces filling up the board, and here's a lawn house that you can put more Tetris pieces on. When I say Tetris pieces, it's just these polyominoes is what they call them, kind of like in Patchwork. But yeah, I could gush about this game for a long time, and I won't because I've already done that, and this is probably a long video. Let's see, yeah, longest one so far, but not too bad. Um, Hope you enjoyed. I had a lot of fun doing this. It's fun to talk about my hobby. It's been a tough year for gaming, tough year for other things too that are more important than gaming. So I hope everyone's doing well. Hope you enjoyed me just having some fun talking about my games. And I hope we get to play a game soon. Bye.